session. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Why don't you go over there?
Yeah.
How about that flag can go over that way?
We keep
I
moving.
know backwards. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Over there would be better.
Okay, we don't have anything to report out since nothing was voted on. So we're going to move on to 4.0. Can I get approval of the minutes and consent items?
I'm making a motion to consider approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, you got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I got it.
You're good. Okay, motion passes. And we go on to item 5, reports from district organizations, councils, board committees.
I think Kate Stover is here for us.
Yeah.
SRTA.
Oh,
Sure, mine was.
I'm Kate Stover, I'm the Vice President of SRTA. We'd like to thank the board for allowing us to teach the students the way we feel and we're trained to teach them and feeling confident in us, our teaching abilities. And we also want to thank Tim and Melissa for letting us, we're enjoying the open dialogue to talk about the contract and the language that has been confusing. So we're not negotiating, we're just cleaning up the language and it's enjoyable. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It is kind of fun to clean up old language and
Oddly, we find it fun. Our joys in life.
So now we go to item 5.2, reports from directors. Start off, Mr. Sandoval.
Well, we are currently, plugging away. We have been kind of exercising our maintenance department into transporting kids all summer. So because we keep adding outdoor stops to our busing program. It's been a challenge, but we've been able to take that on and we're doing very well. We're kind of adjusting the schedules and, making sure that, every kid doesn't get left behind or there isn't any overages on one day versus another. Maintenance department is actually kind of just doing really great. I know that my last Friday letter kind of showed a little time brother, hey, look, believe it or not, man, there's a lot of work being done. So we're looking at, a 75% performance rate. So if you really look at the national average, it's about 85. We're at 75, do good. And so my guys are just ready and eager to learn. So it gives me the opportunity to teach them and to know how to do things and stuff like that. The other thing is this Friday, I will be taking a field trip over to my old school district, Colorado Unified School District. We're going to be looking at an electric bus that we've been working on, and we might be having a grant. So it's kind of giving up one of our oldest school buses for electric. So the grant is fully funded.
For us, right? Really?
But I just get to go to my old school district to see it. So, it's fully funded. $110,000 for the bus, and they're also funding, and this is by Monterey Bay Area Resource District. They're also funding the infrastructure because the infrastructure is, kind of how you have to tie it into a whole system. So, and that's roughly about $67,000. So we're looking at $167,000. So that's all I have.
And Rosa's very happy about all that grant money. So
So that bus is now currently over at your other district?
No, the vendor Bluebird is actually doing a big Dr. Pony, and so they're bringing out the bus that I want to see because it's the D series, which is the largest bus that they do offer. It's not as big as like our number 1 bus, which actually carries 92 kids. They still don't make that in the electric version, but this is, I believe it's 78, which is a larger bus than we have right now. So.
And so does your district have the bus, or they're just doing the show there and that's why?
There, as a matter of fact, before I left there, I did do a grant with the director of transportation over there. And we did all the infrastructure in-house. And so she was ready for the grant. She was, kind of going through the process of it, and Katie calls out, is gonna get about 4 buses. And so they're demonstrating the buses that are coming out. So doing that demonstration, we're gonna take advantage of it. We're gonna take a look at the buses that we kind of like and see what it's like. It's better to see it beforehand than there's a sighting on the property.
It's nice that they're following our footsteps, because we were the first in the county to have an electric bus. So it's kind of nice that, they're looking at that.
How many buses do we have total?
We have 9.
So 9, so we'll have 2 that are electric.
Electric.
Correct.
So we're gonna have about.
So, but it's not an increase. We have to give up one of our old
Right,
diesel buses.
so then it'll be about 20%.
So just,
Our fleet will be.
right, and, I mean, if you really look at the bigger picture, it saves us money,
Yes.
because when we're running off of the grid, basically, we do have a grid, we're performing with the grid, not only with battery, but the solar, who is actually fueling up that bus for us. And if you look at our fuel consumption, it's pretty high on diesel. And so if we can save every dollar on there, we could actually benefit.
Good work.
Yeah, how's the maintenance cost, or when it's electric versus as far as cost?
I don't know. I mean, I could try to find out, but right now, I think the warranty is for 5 years, so for 5 years, and it's almost like, your Prius. After the 10th year, your battery cells start dying, and then you have to replace those battery cells. Still not bad, but it is, kind of a tough situation where you have to switch out those batteries at one point in time.
Yeah, it's finding out what the long-term cost on that is.
I just had a couple of questions. Going back to your original comment about maintenance and school bus drivers, what's our staffing regarding bus drivers? Do we have enough? Are we?
What it is that the hurdle in staffing of bus drivers. The amount of time that we need a bus driver is for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, except for minimum days. So we've had a position open for quite some time, even before I got here, and it's a 4-hour position, which is for a bus driver. But not a lot of people are attracted to the fact that they'd be here at 6:30, pre-inspector bus, and finishing up the route by 8:30, and then coming back at 2 o'clock to finish out the rest of the day until 4 o'clock. So there's a big difference between, and that's where we kind of lag on. So what we've been doing is, having our maintenance people who are 8-hour employees help us out in that case. So we're kind of infilling the need as a temporary fix, but actually, we will require like a position or 2 just for the bus routes.
Is there a possibility of creating a position where we combine 2 things, like do the morning and afternoon and have those workers work during the day on sites?
We do that. We're doing that now. The problem comes up because they start at 6:30 and they're not off until like 4:30. We had this case where we had a guy that was taking 2-hour lunches, and he loved it because he could go pick up his grandkids from preschool and do all this stuff, but you can't do that. So we end up having to pay all that.
4-hour shifts?
Huh?
Can we do 2 4-hour shifts?
You can't do split shifts without paying for it.
No, I mean having a part-time in the morning and then maybe having another person.
Well, we just can't get anybody to apply for part-time work. That's the problem we're having. We can't get anybody to apply for a 4-hour position to drive a bus. So we've combined those 2, and we're just paying an hour of overtime a day we have to pay on the maintenance guys because they're
So
working.
even though we had the 2 4-hour period, you're still only driving for 2 hours. So even if we had a 4-hour morning and a 4-hour late, you're still only driving for 2 hours, and then 2 hours, how do we fill that in? So, yeah. But I'm working with Tim and.
I would love to see ideas on how we can resolve that.
We're working, and we'll probably work with CSEA to see if we can't create some kind of hybrid position where we can do an extended lunch hour if the employers.
I would love to see us think outside the box.
Yeah,
To
no,
see us
I
see
agree.
and see maybe an MOU going here.
And really, and quite frankly, it's hard to find anybody that wants to drive a bus, period.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
The reason I
very,
say
very
that is
difficult
because
job.
they have-
But you guys up for it?
My sister's daughter, eh? No,
So,
I'll take my
If
classroom.
if you think you get the classroom stuff, just be on the bus with your back to 78 kids who are ready to go home. So it's just hard to get somebody who wants to do that job in the first place. So we're trying to make it as attractive as we can, so.
No, I thank you guys for fixing it, you know, the way we have been, but, you know, like I said, I love this for long-term solutions. Thank
So,
you.
I mean, no matter what, that challenge is coming our way because we're not getting any smaller. So eventually we'll get bigger.
And, you know, I just had a thought. I know that what we usually try to do is combine the bus driver with maintenance in some form or another. But what if you had somebody that wanted to be a bus driver, first of all, you know, that's rare, and they had no aptitude at all for anything in maintenance, but they could do something in a school, be a paraprofessional of some sort.
We'll have to
Would
work
we
with the union.
think about combining them?
There's nothing that's off the table.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
I
good.
mean, we just have to that would be something we'd have to negotiate.
I just know that we need to think outside of our normal
Yep.
boxes and,
I mean, it's a little premature for us to say yes, because, I mean, basically it starts out with, you know, opening the challenge with CSEA and see what's available, what we can do, what we can't.
what we used to do in Monterey is take the bus drivers and combine them with lunch hour duties so that they could spend an hour and a half or 2 hours doing lunch duty and then back to,
Well, we got, if that door opens, I mean, we have some prime candidates.
but their schedules for the bus drivers were a little bit longer too. They were all over the place.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Shambo. Mr. Hall?
Yeah, so for us, we're continuing to collect the alternative conforms like we do every year for the LCFF. Right now, we're sitting short about 625, but there's still a couple hundred on my desk ready to process. So we'll shore that up, and then hopefully by the end of the week have a good idea of who's exactly missing, and then we can just reach out and get a hold of them to get theirs. In terms of products, so we're excited. We're trying some new products right now for the start of the year. I don't know how excited all the kids are about them. They're new to them. So we have stuffed shells with marinara sauce. We brought in chow mein. We've been rice every week once a week. So do some chow mein noodles. A couple years ago, I had a conversation with Melissa. I don't know if she remembers it, but she has a colleague. Chicken waffle, yeah. That's another one, chicken waffle. We've done it in the past, but we've done it with chicken nuggets or chicken tender rocks. Drumsticks that the kids think like from KFC. They love them. I was thinking of the Chinese food containers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we brought those in this year, so we're serving that Chinese food and.
They're excited about that.
Yeah,
Big
I
time.
was hoping.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How
So
awesome.
that's fairly new, we've only been doing it this month. Another thing is equipment assistance grants. We're coming up on October, we can apply for it. We wouldn't see funding until next year, like January to February, March. But we can get up to 5 sites, we gotta leave somebody out, up to $100,000 for the district wide. And we can use it on a new food service truck if we needed to, on the catering vehicle if we had to. Kitchen equipment for the, old and outdated equipment. And just an update on, I spoke on a recent meeting, Missions in, we're bringing samples in for uniforms, so we can have like some uniform shirts, more like an apartment and more professional. So we come to the next week with some samples.
Any questions?
I just have a comment. I've talked to a few parents. They love the new choices. I'm glad that this district went with a different route than other districts. We have more choice and ability to shift it up, That's it. The parents have been through their kids, they really enjoy the additional choices and
They're excited not to get the plane stuff that they're
Good.
Right, you know, rarely do
Makes
you
it
hear parents complimenting about school.
Yeah.
You know, so when we do, we gotta, you know.
We gotta take it. Any other questions, comments?
You're doing a great job, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a good team.
Okay, thank you, Marcel. Is that with you?
I do have a report and then have a presentation. So we send out the inadequate actuals report. Pretty much looks like this. It's about 200 pages. There's information on everything, what was done on the district side, on the business side, all the funds, all the forms. It's a lot of information. It's about probably over 100 pages for sure. So I'm gonna go through important information. If there is a list on it, I'm sure you looked at it. And I'm just gonna go in the same order of the list. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me or we can go over the questions after the presentation. So this state report and all this package, it's turned into the county office for review. And then the county office submit a copy of this state report to the state, also for review. And I'm also sharing this information with our district auditors, so they can review it as well. So this is the agenda. I'll go through the funds and the forms. It's pretty simple, and I'll go in the same order, just like I mentioned. This one, just not to get you confused, all the information that I'm getting is coming out from that same report. This is how it looks like. I'm gonna be talking about Fund 01. In your report, it says Form 01, but it's the same as the fund. So the form equals the fund, just not to get confused. The reports have information about inadequate actuals, which are, not to get confused with the budget, these are actuals. This is the information that we have when we close the books. On the other side, you'll see the budget. We already went through the budget during the last meeting when we adopted the July 1st budget, so I'm not gonna talk about the budget this time. This time, I'm only gonna be focusing on the actual numbers, but the other information is there just for you to review it. So this is the Fund 01, and it's the summary page. And it's pretty much the screenshot that I give you. That's coming out of the big package report. I put it in a different format because I know it's hard to follow. It's a lot of pages, and sometimes we just want to see like the snapshot, just the summary. I took last year actual numbers and compare it to this year actual numbers, and then I'm gonna talk about some of the differences. So if we look at the summary of Fund 01, the first line, it's the LCFF funding. We got additional $2.8 million. This is because on 18-19 fiscal year is the first year that the LCFF got fully funded. On the prior years, there was always a gap percentage, and we were not getting fully funded. But this year on 18-19, it was the first year the LCFF was fully funded, and that's when there was an increase in revenue. Also, we had additional 49 ADA kids. So ADA, like I mentioned before, is average daily attendance. So those are the number of kids that were present in the classroom. So the more kids that we have, the more revenue that we have. And that's also included on the increase of the revenue. We also got more federal revenue because we get funded on ADA as well. So the more kids, the more revenue. We also got some new grants this last closing year. Title IV was new on the 18-19, so we got that for the amount. For the Title IV, we got about $17,000 more. Lottery revenue, we got $93,000 more. Mandated
cost reimbursements, $128,000 more. We had a new grant for classified professional development for $19,000. And a new grant for a low performance students block grant for $300,000. So that's the additional, 158,568. The local revenue was pretty much the same as last year. There's a difference of $90. Local revenue comes from facility rentals that we get, and also for interest that we earn at the county. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the expenditures. We had an increase on certificated salaries, and this is due to the step and column. And also, if you remember, there was a one-time payment that it was given out to the certificated for $2,000. And that's pretty much the increase. On the classified, we had the step and column, so usually every year those salaries are gonna go up. The benefits, you're gonna see a big increase of $1.2 million. This is due to the 10% benefit cap that was increased, and it was retro to the beginning of the fiscal year. So that was, the board approved that with the union, that was all approved, and that was the impact on the increase for the expenses. The books and supplies, $618,000. Mostly like for the new Chromebooks that we purchase every year. I know there was about 800 new Chromebooks that we have to purchase for the elementary schools, because those, they have to be compatible with the SBAC, and they were not compatible, so they have to purchase those new Chromebooks. And that was that increase on the the capital outlay, you're gonna see a decrease in there, because on the 17-18, we had the Proposition 39, which it was a grant funding for energy efficiency. So we didn't have that much left of the grant of that 18-19, so we didn't have that grant, so we reduced the expenses, and that's why you see a savings there. On the 7,000 object code for other out of go, that's pretty much the build back. The bill back overall went down by $327,000. If you see at the very bottom, we end up with a surplus of 4.5. However, it was board approved on 18-19 to have a transfer to Fund 14 for facility maintenance and facility projects. So that was transferred out. And we also had an OPEB payment liability of 102. And at the very bottom, if you see the net increase or decrease, we end up with a $1.8 million. And then that's our beginning balance at the beginning of the year and ending balance. This is a summary of the ending balance. So we are required to have the 2,000 revolving cash, and we are required to have the 3% minimum reserves. We had already reserved or assigned these expenditures as part of our ending fund balance, and I know I talked about it during the last time. Is pension liabilities, which are increasing every year, and we did that for 3 years. We have to set aside for Common Core, which is $617,000. That's gonna be spent on this year, the 19-20 fiscal year. We also have reserve increases for special ed and compensated absences. And then at the very end, we have $1.8 million for future employer contributions or projects or anything that we need, that we feel that we need to spend on. This is the preschool fund. It's Fund 12, and it's also part of your package. Last year, 17-18, it was the first year that we had a preschool. The preschool was only open for 10 months. So our expenditures for this year increased because we were open the whole year round. The preschool also got a local grant from NCOE, and that's what you see on local revenue income. Pretty much the certificated salaries increase due to the 12-month 12-month period and not the 10 compared to last year. Also, the classified increase, and if you remember on 18-19, they added a new clerk position to help out with all the administrative paperwork. The benefits is really something that they cannot control because that was already agreed that all employees get the 10% retro on the benefit increase cap. And that's pretty much it. On the very end, you'll see the transfers of $138,000. That money is coming from general fund to cover the parents' fees that the board approved to cover, so that the parents don't have to pay those additional fees. We end up with a ending fund balance of $50,000, and that ending fund balance is also part of the local branch and some of the parents' fees that was not covered, that are outside the district, and they were not covered from the Fund 1, so we actually got revenue from that. So we'll move on to the cafeteria fund. That's Fund 13 in your form. So just pretty much the same. This fund is a reimbursement fund, and the more kids that we get, the more revenue that we get. So that's pretty much our revenue increase because we have more kids, so we were able to claim more reimbursement. On this one, our classified expenses increase also due to the step and column, and we also have the benefit increase again due to the 10% benefit cap. If you see on the supplies, there is kind of like a flip. So the supplies increase, but the contract services decrease significantly. And this is because last year we had a vendor who was doing all the purchases for the food and buying all that for the district. And this year is the first, well, this closing year, 18-19, it was the first year that the district got rid of the vendor, and our food director was able to buy all that and doing the extra work. So we were, at the beginning of the year, we were estimating to have a deficit spending. If you see on last year, we had a deficit spending of $56,000, but because we did that transfer, we were able to have a surplus of $44,000. And that's thanks to our director and all his hard work, so I'm very pleased with that. Thank you, Chuck.
Good job.
Thank you for saving us.
Thanks, Rosa.
So this is the Fund 14. If you look at the very bottom, it has the interfund transfer that was approved at $2.4 million. There was some expenses. I don't have nothing on last year because we didn't use that fund last year. But the $825,000 was pretty much spent on Gavilan View, new roof, door fan replacement, and a lot of it was pretty much facility repairs. So that was the purpose of making that transfer to be used for facility needs and facility repairs. We have $1.6 million left out, and that's gonna be in a plan for 5 years. So I believe our MOT director is gonna present that in the future. So the following funds, Fund 25, 35, 40, and 51, they don't have any salaries or benefits. Fund 25 is a fund that we receive funds from developer fees. So if there's any construction around our area, we receive revenue for that. Fund 35 is used when we receive money from the state. We didn't receive any money. We haven't received any grants for facilities from the state. So we only have $116 that was carried over from 17-18.
So good.
We have Fund 40. We had revenue for $4,000. That's pretty much interest and earned. So we didn't get any funding. The Fund 51 is the bond fund, and that's coming from the county auditor controller office. We don't have access to this fund. It's not even at the county office. but we get the information. You only see this fund on the unaudited actuals. We are not required to report this during the budget reports because we really can't do, we can't do anything with that fund. It's just for informational purposes. So we'll go through the SACS forms. I know it was a lot in a big package, but just to give you a summary, a lot of these forms are used by the county office and by the state. They do some kind of criteria and analysis behind the scenes to come up with percentages or numbers. So those are, I can see that those can be very difficult to understand, but just to give you a summary, Form A, it's pretty much a summary of the district ADA, average daily attendance for P2 annual and the funded ADA, and it also has information about the county office ADA. The form asset, pretty much all that information comes from the audit report from last year. We increase it if we have new equipment or land improvements, so we input that information as well. Form CEA is a criteria to determine if the district spent at least 60% on classroom compensation. This is per ed code, so all the districts in California are required to meet that minimum percentage, and depending on the district, if we, since this is considered elementary, we are at 60%. High school districts are at 55%, so depending on the district, they have different percentage. We met the criteria and we are at 61.31, so we passed that criteria. Then we also have the Form DEP, which pretty much represents or all the liabilities and the pensions and the GO bonds. And we have Form ESMOE, which it calculates to make sure that we're spending the right amount per student, and we pass that criteria. The GAN limit, so you're gonna see that in your binder because we have to approve it every year for ed code. And this was, this comes back from 1979. It's pretty much doing some type of criteria and analysis to make sure that the district is not spending more than the population that we have. So to use, the system use the ADA as a population. So pretty much what they want to see is that if we have an increase of students, they want to see an increase of expenses, right? Because you have more teachers, you need more books, you need more equipment. So this is pretty much to making sure that we are spending according to our students. So we pass that criteria and we are good with that. And that's pretty much what it is. We have to approve it separately from the unaudited actuals, and it's just a requirement. So we are all good on that. We don't have to worry about that. The next forms, the ICR, it pretty much, it does a criteria to make sure that we don't charge, so we get reimbursed for administrative costs for all the restricted funds, restricted grants. Or for example, Title I, Title II, we can only charge 5.25%. So that form makes sure that we don't charge more than we're supposed to. If you look at I believe it's the third page of the very end of it, it tells you the percentage that we use for every resource code or for every grant. Form L is pretty much looking at the lottery revenues and expenditures. It's informational. I don't have to input any information there. It all comes from the numbers and from our financial system. And the form PCR and PCRAF is looking at the numbers of FTEs that we have at the district level. The form SIAA, it represents summary of the funds transfer. So for example, the transfer that we had from the general fund to Fund 14 of $2.4 million, you're gonna see that on that form. And the system is checking to make sure everything is balanced within all the grants and all the forms. The form SEMA and SEMB is looking to make sure that we are spending enough money on special ed. And the criteria was met, we passed that, so we don't have to worry about that. The TRC checks to make sure that all the forms and all this package is in balance. If there's any little, even if it's like $1 off, it would give me an error for me to fix it. So that, that last page, it's clean, as you can see, we don't have any mistakes, everything is clean, everything is balanced. I'm not very happy about that. And that's something that the county and the state usually looks at to make sure that everything was balanced and that all these forms were passed and that we met the minimum requirements. So that's pretty much a summary of about 200 pages report. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask or comments.
Thank you for the report. Any questions from the board?
I just have a couple of comments. Number one, I really want to thank you. What you've done here is made a great presentation and made me feel more trusting as to the numbers I'm seeing. And I love the explanation, especially about limits and the different forms. And I like the detailed information regarding the increase and decreases from year to year. But what I in particular like is that the vision of this board, I assume, I hope I don't assume incorrectly, is that we always look to make sure that our top end expenses, admin is low, that our teachers and staff are well paid. And at the same time, we're always looking at the future in terms of having a reserve of an amount. So in the case of a downturn in the economy, we can protect the staff and our students. And so I'm glad to see a great balance of that happening. And I really appreciate CSEA and our teachers union for working with us and understanding that not only are we doing something for today, but we're also protecting you for the future, because a downturn in the economy will come. And the last thing we want to do is not have reserve, not have money to make sure that the existing contract terms are met into the future. So whatever we do agree on is agreed upon and it's sustainable over time, unlike other districts who might not have that ability in the future. So I just really want to commend you for carrying out this vision and presenting that in a nice, straightforward format. And I'm glad to see our numbers are in the positive area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
No question for me, but, good job. As a CBO, I could not do your job. I just don't know. When any CBO, I just don't know how you guys balance things. I mean, I balance, the most that I do is balance my checkbook, but that's it. My hat's off to you. And thank you for keeping our district solvent.
Any questions or comments from the public? Thank you for your presentation. Thanks, Rosa.
Excellent job.
Ms. Sullivan?
The most recent thing that I wanted to talk to you about and let you know about, I know that in our LCAP and it's really important to this board that we ensure that every student in San Rita gets to attend at least one field trip. And in the past, what we did is we had assigned field trips per each grade level. And what sites, and I'm really excited to say this came out of a teacher PLC. They were looking at their normal third grade field trip and they said, it doesn't really match our current standards now. And if we could, instead of going to the planetarium, go to this nature reserve, that would better meet our standards. And so I let Tim know my thinking on this, and I talked to the principals and I said, I want to give you guys a little more freedom that if your teams want to realign which field trips they're going on based on what they're teaching or what they're teaching at the time, I think that's more than appropriate. And our parameters are always, and I said, the less parameters you can have, the better. But so we've got two solid ones, that their standards align and that they're economically feasible. And so most of our students go on at least 2 field trips a year. And then sometimes something special will come up. I know Jody Clark, our music teacher at 2 of our elementaries, got tickets to a musical last year. So some students got to participate in a third thing, or some of our sites do character education field trips in addition. And so just, I wanted to give you guys a heads up that instead of being locked into those specific ones, our grade level teams are gonna just sort of explore what their options are and align it to what they're teaching. And so far, the feedback's been super positive about that from the principals and the teachers that I talked to about it. And then our next big endeavor, and I don't know if Tim will speak to it a little bit more, we are planning a parent resource fair. As you know, our goal 3 and our LCAP have been really underfunded, and so this year we made that shift to infuse that with some additional funding, particularly to support Molson Knowles in continuing to grow their parent resource center, and knowing that our intent is to grow a parent resource center at Santa Rita Elementary as well. And a big part of that is informing our families, bringing our families in, one, so they know that we care about them and the relationship, and the ways that we can help connect them to community services, we can connect them to things that we can offer. We've spoken to, we had a preliminary meeting with our 2 middle school principals, David Hermosillo from Santa Rita, Rich Lopez, Nadine, Victor Sandoval, and Chuck Helm, so that we can have space, for vendors to have booths, or, not really vendors there, but presenters, community agencies. Rich Lopez has already reached out to fire, EMT, maybe we can get a fire truck for kids to visit on, and things like that. And he's actually trying to see if he can land a helicopter for us so we can see him.
We have an answer.
I threw that gauntlet down and he took it up, and I thought, okay. And so it's really exciting. I mean, John confirmed 2 agencies that same day. Donna found a flyer that we could use, so Michael Muchnick at GB is working on helping us build our flyer. Nadine Dermody's already confirmed that I believe it's Wildwood Ranch is gonna bring a petting zoo. So right now, our date is November 2nd, 11 to 3. We will send you invites well in advance, and so it'll be engaging, informative, and fun. And our leadership teams at Molson Knowles and GB are gonna help be volunteers for us.
That is
Nice.
Exciting.
That just happened here at the city in on the Rodeo grounds. Just last weekend, I took my grandkids there, and they did bring in a helicopter, and they did have a school bus. My little ones love, of all the community service vehicles, school bus. And they up and down that school bus. Yeah. So that was really, it's a good idea, really good idea. I think I enjoyed it this past weekend. I know that it'll go over really good in our district.
Sounds great.
Nice.
just a couple of things. I want to commend you regarding the flexibility of giving each professional learning community that ability to address the field trip needs based on that community of that school. And so I like seeing the individuality, that flexibility, as long as the small learning community came together. And that is what was agreed upon with the parent input, teacher input, with the focus on the standards, you know? I know at my side, we do the same thing. We get to choose where we want to go with certain criteria. And I think that's what makes each school meet the needs of those students in that population is because standardizing all the field trips, sometimes, you know, it doesn't fit the community and the needs of that population. And we have a great variety of population bases in our district. The second thing is the Family Resource Center. I am so glad that our district is providing more ability of our parents to come in and find out about all the resources available through Monterey County without fear. There's a great fear out there of coming and meeting and finding our resources out there. And the idea that we're gonna host it in school in a safe place, I really appreciate that. And I think the more expandability and we can set that as a foundation, as a benchmark and then bring it over to Santa Rita. So I think the eventual need is, we need to get to Santa Rita on that, but I'm glad that it is starting out successfully at the Folsom Home, and I would want to see that other thing. Thank you. That is awesome.
Any other questions? I'm also pretty excited about the community thing going on and stuff. And I'm already thinking of a lot of organizations that I want to let them know to either volunteer or help out or things and stuff. So thank you guys, everybody, for doing
And
that.
I will send that form for people who might want to move to
Yeah.
you all in case you know of other community agencies. So I'll let you know which ones we confirm when we get that ready. Because then if you know of something else, that might help you.
I love this idea. I mean, people
That's
wouldn't
exciting.
find this place, people wouldn't go there independently, but when we provide it in one place and they have the safety of knowing the school function and not have to worry about other issues, I think it's gonna help.
Well, the high school district's in. I'll confirm that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to reports, board activities, meetings attended. Mr. Patel?
I've been to New Republic, I've been to BK, I know we took out the playground equipment, the exercise equipment, I'd like to get a status report on what's going on at some point, the garden area in Bolsa Knolls, I know, I'd like to see that come to fruition as well as the one here in Gallery View, I could look at that. I think most of you know my child goes to our feeder a high school that we feed into, and I was very happy that I talked to a lot of our parents of our former 8th graders who are going there now, and they're very pleased with what they're seeing, and it's a good bridge, and I would love to see our district build a great bridge with that high school. And in the same note, I wanted to make sure I was involved, so I did run for school site council of the new high school, and now I've been luckily voted in. So I hope that I can build that bridge between our district and the new high school to make sure that we are doing the best for our students as they progress and leave us and continue with their successful life. And
Second?
Pass this time, I have nothing to report.
Mary?
Nothing.
Okay, and I have nothing to report as well. Moving on to the report from the superintendent.
Yes, just really quickly, August 28th, I attended the New Republic PLC. I was really encouraged to see that the PLCs are kind of taking shape into this responsive organizational kind of function that they're taking, because I walked in and that site had requested that there was a presentation by the counselors on trauma, and it was a really thorough and helpful, for me, and I didn't even know I needed to know about that, but I walked in and I just sat there and went, oh my gosh. They covered different forms of trauma, different ways to identify trauma in our students, and then different ways to address trauma, some different, just simple, was it a 2+10? The 2+10 formula where you just 2 minutes a day, you just meet with them and then touch
10
base 10 days in a row, where you just meet with a kid that you suspect is in trauma. So it was fun because it's exactly what we envisioned when we said we want PLCs to be more about the kids holistically, instead of just simply going over data every single week and then doing your lesson plans. It needs to be about the specific needs of the site. So you go to New Republic, and that's what I saw. You go into another site, you see what they need. I'm really excited that the sites are really taking off and forming their own identity, and their needs are being addressed, because the children are more than just test scores. I've said that since the beginning of the school year. And if kids are suffering from trauma and trauma-induced stress and any kind of psychological or emotional distress, nothing else is going to happen until we address that. It doesn't matter how much the teachers try or how hard they work or how many hours they spend preparing their lessons. If a kid is sitting in that class suffering from some type of stress disorder or some trauma disorder, then we failed as an educational institution to teach that child. So hats off to New Republic, but I'm sure every site is doing that. I just haven't, this is my first one, and the first one I got blown away. So also, I want to make us know, we went over earlier that the Reading is Fundamental warehouse is up and running. We have an active warehouse that will sponsor the RIF program for the entire Monterey County right here. It's a working warehouse. They'll be able to have shipments and stuff instead of working out of a classroom where they have to, like a bunch of ants, carry stuff back and forth from the parking lot. They'll be able to work there. It's handy. Then if we have deliveries, we can make sure that they get the help they need. And it sponsors a reading program for every child in Monterey County that the school signs up. And for everybody knows, some of our kids don't have money for a tablet and ebooks. I understand that this program is a program that's in its, it's in the autumn of its life expectancy, but we still have kids that can't afford ebooks and they can't afford. So to be able to place a book in the hands of these kids, it's still a worthwhile endeavor, and we're going to partner with them, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they have a place where they can do this and distribute these books for all these kids that are most in need. So I'm really excited about that. And invite any of the teachers that want to come and check it out sometime, just let us know and we'll open it up. It's going to be pretty fun. The only thing I'm going to talk about I just want to add to Melissa's report on the resource fair and the Parent Resource Center is we met with Adif Farias, and I know I'm from Missouri, so that probably sounded terrible to you, right? It's like, I got a big fat lazy hillbilly tongue and I cannot do that, right? So anyway, she's wonderful. We met with her. It's not gonna happen. Irish people don't roll their arms. So I met with her, and I actually met with your brother, and because we wanted to partner with, she actually reached out to us because she works for Hartnell in college now, and wanted to partner with us and look at adult and career technical education outreach programs. And I said, get her in here quick, because we've got this thing that we've been talking about now for a year, and it was exactly what we needed to trigger what we're looking for in our Parent Resource Center, because we do want to connect them up with social services and medical services and dental services. But what she's saying is we need to hook them up with educational services, because these parents want to learn how to speak and read and write. And there's no place, there's a Salinas adult education, Hartnell has college, but you know what, if they live in that neighborhood and their kids are going to that school, and if we can get a resource room there, they can come in between November and February when these parents are off work, and they can do accelerated courses for them, and they'll be learning to speak English, write English, read English, right along with their students. And what a great opportunity for kids and parents to go to school together. And connect on that level. I just thought it's such an exciting thing that we can do, because it's going to be a center that will have a door that'll be accessed outside, so it won't be on the campus. The room will be in the campus, but it'll be separated. It'll be outside. And to be able to get parents to come in and become partners in their students' education by becoming educated themselves, I think it's a game changer. And if we can get that. And it'll be open not just to those parents, but any of the parents that we have in this district that want to enroll and come to it. So I want to make sure that we touched on that, as well as all of the medical and social needs. It's actually, we're looking at education for our parents as well, and really bringing them in as partners in their students' education in a way that's meaningful, and it connects them together in that common goal of becoming educated and becoming literate. So I just wanted to make sure we touched on that. So that'll all be part of that November 2nd. It's a Saturday. Come one, come all. We're just so excited about it. It's just going to be so much fun. Yeah,
Where is it at?
Santa Rita.
That's Santa Rita.
Yep, we're going to do it.
Sorry.
We've got the 3 classrooms coming in that we used. You didn't cover it in the thing, but it's coming out of the Fund 25. We're using developer fees to add 3 additional classrooms at Santa Rita to help alleviate that overcrowding that we have, so we can stop busing kids all over this district. It creates a burden on the busing. It's adding to the students' day. They have to come to school, and then they get bused over to another school, and then they get bused back to this school, and they get to go home. It's really unfair to them. So we're determined we're going to fix that before, when next year rolls around. But also open up one of those classrooms to where we can create this parent learning center. So it's going to happen. It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait. I'm really jacked up about it. So we'll keep you posted. But November 2nd, 11 to 3, and Chuck, we're going to have to talk about food, because I was told by someone who I trust very much on how to get people going. He said, get food, get childcare, and get translators, and we'll be there. Okay. All right, that's all I got, so thank you.
Any questions from the board?
And thanks to New Republic again for a great PLC. I'm looking forward to getting out to La Jolla and everybody else, because it's gonna be good, because it's authentic, right? It's just authentic, and that's what I like about it, so thank you.
I want to thank Tim for bringing a fresh air regarding giving the site's latitude in terms of determining what is needed at that site. As long as that latitude is consistently focused on student growth and student overall well-being. So I want to thank you for that. It's been really fresh. I've talked to a lot of teachers and they appreciate it. Second thing is I want to personally openly thank Sarah Turner, our board member, for bringing RIP. I know many years ago when she brought this up. It started off as a small idea, and then I want to thank you once again, Tim, for taking that idea and moving it out and making it accessible and growing it and creating a warehouse where the entire county can just back up trucks, bring the workers, get those books distributed. You know, I think what you took with a little dream and you've expanded it and made it into a great fruition of hope for our Monterey County, especially for the young readers out there. So commendable, thank you.
Well, and you can ask any of these teachers, I'm not gonna lose my focus on kids. So, I've told them all along, I trust them, and I'm gonna bet on them to get these kids to where they need to be, and they're stepping up and showing everybody that not only, you know, can I trust them, but they're gonna go way beyond what I could ever imagine or direct them to do, because I'm letting them have that risk-taking ability where they can try things and create and experiment and all that stuff, and it's just amazing to watch. It's so much more than my vision. It wasn't about my vision. My vision was just to turn them loose and then see what happens. And it's amazing. I'm so proud of what I've seen so far. So, but I'll never stop talking about students and what we're going to do, because it's Santa Rita where we all
Learn and grow.
Mr. Patel, was that?
Yeah, those are the things.
Yeah, I just wanted to say also that I'm happy to hear about the focus on the parents, because a lot of times I think the children are important, but a lot of times there's a lot of trauma, and it's because the parents are in a good situation. So if we can help reach out to them and try to improve their overall situations, we're going to improve the lives of these kids as well. So it's great to hear that. Item 5.5, receive hearings of individuals desiring to address the board with items not on the agenda.
The line is huge.
Line is huge.
I don't know, you might want to put 1 3-minute limit.
Okay, we're gonna move on to 6.0, 6.1, approve board resolution 19.09.61.
Rosie, go ahead, just recap that again.
Okay, so when I was doing my presentation, I talked about the gap limit that we passed through that criteria, and it's pretty much preventing government wasting, making sure that based on the number of students that we have, we're not overspending or vice versa. It's balanced out. So the county and the state request a board resolution to be approved before the 15th of this month, and that's why we have it here.
More questions or comments from the public? Okay, can I get a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Okay, can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Move on to item 6.2.
So this one, just a summary as well, is pretty much what I presented. It's the actuals for last year, 18-19, and the copy, that full copy that you got, it's gonna be delivered to MCOE. It gets transmitted to CDE, the state, and it also, a copy is delivered to our auditors. So that's pretty much, we need to approve it before the 15th as well, and that's why I have it here for approval.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the public? Can I get a motion to approve 6.2?
I move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item 6.3.
That's mine again. So this one, it's a board resolution that we adopt every 3 years, and pretty much a summary, it's to be able to collect delinquent property taxes. So we get the funding, we're part of this GPA group, and we're able to collect those property taxes. And being part of that group, it's pretty much allowing us to not to be short in funding. So that's a benefit for the district. And if we're part of that group, we'll also get a 10% additional funding of that piece of the delinquent taxes. All Monterey County districts are part of it. It's something that all the districts do every year. We are just required to bring this to the board for their knowledge and to do a resolution for a board approval every 3 years.
So that 10% is like the penalty for them not paying.
Yeah, so we're part of this group. There is property taxes that they get delinquent, and instead of, because we get part of the taxes through the LCFF, so instead of the district waiting until we collect that funding, we have this group, and it's an agency that collects for the funds, that money for the district, so we're not short. And they're pretty much investors, and they get their money, and we get our money, and we get additional 10%. And like I said, this is all the districts in Monterey County do it. Everyone in Monterey County is part of this GPA, and it's a normal procedure. We just have to bring it to the board every 3 years.
Questions, comments?
No, looks like we're just outsourcing it.
Yeah, somebody else, they collect them and
cut.
Yeah, we're eating the sausage, but they're gonna make it. We don't have to get involved in collecting.
I make a motion to approve 6.3.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And motion passes, 6.4.
This is it.
Ooh, that's me again. So I'm pretty sure we talked about this before, and talking about getting rid of the old language and the contract and stuff like that. This is pretty much eliminating the position for categorical analysts. And as I mentioned before, back maybe 8 years ago, we used to have categorical grants that the district would require a position to keep track of all those categorical grants, would be reported to the state and to the county. With the LCFF funding and the LCFF implementation, almost all of those categorical grants went away. So there's no need for that piece of the work. We still, the position that we had at the district, the name was categorical analyst, but she was doing other duties. So the main purpose for this is to align the tasks and responsibilities to the current job and revise that job title. Instead of being categorical analyst, to be budget technician. And I work in collaboration with the union, CSEA, and we work together in the board meeting. They review it, they approve it. We also work together on the salary because of the responsibilities and everything that we have in the job description. The difference on the salary, if you take the last step, the range where the categorical analyst was, and the new range for the budget analyst, there's a difference of 5,554. That's the cost impact. However, we compare to different districts around our area. We look at different job descriptions. I make phone calls with my colleagues from other CBOs to make sure that our description align to the needs of our district. And that's pretty much why I have here to approve the job description for the budget division.
Okay, real quick. I'm reading this and it doesn't say job description, it says job title. So we need to make an amendment to this motion to where it says district proposes to make a revision to the existing job title. That should be job description, yeah?
So it's both, it's job title and job description.
So we're gonna, the
So-
second.
Are you on 6?
I'm on 6.4, because if you look at 6.5, it's considering elimination of the category and approval of the creation of the other. So those are both saying the same thing. So we have to amend 6.4 to approve a job description.
That's fine.
You have job description?
No, on
says
the
it
agenda is this job title, I think it's looking.
I'm talking about the actual.
Oh,
I'm looking at the
I was
motion.
looking at the item,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I'm looking at the motion, and the motion says, make a revision to the existing job title.
For the position, this is job description. That's
Right.
what it is,
Okay, so I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that,
clear clarity.
so we can go by this then, because I'm looking at the agenda, and it's not, it's not, okay.
Okay, I'd like to point out, yeah, it's different on.
So it's description, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's wrong, that's what Tim's saying, yeah.
This is where I go, because it's all, don't stop shopping on this agenda.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because when I read it, they both say the same thing. That's approved, so, okay. Cool.
Questions from the public or board? So can I get a motion, and
I
also?
have-
Oh, you have a question?
Under education and experience, it says 3 years in budget experience preferred. I would think that that would be required at least. And I would think that you would want to indicate public sector preferred. And then bachelor's degree in accounting, business, finance, or related field preferred. I think that's okay, because you would maybe look at somebody with a mathematics.
Yeah, so pretty much what we did is comparing the responsibilities, and we look at other job descriptions, and based on the salary and comparing to other districts, that's pretty much what they had. And based on the level of skills that we need, we would prefer someone to have those skills. But yeah, we don't have it on required based on the level, on the salary level and the responsibilities.
One of the things that you'll find in the other districts that are bigger than us, they usually have budget technician 1, budget technician 2. And each one of those things get, the requirements are
Higher.
more stringent. So this is, for us in the district we are, it's basically just an entry-level budget technician. And that's why the required would be too much for this, because it'll be hard for us to compete, because if we do that, we're gonna be competing against MQSD and these guys. And that's why I always said preferred, because if we find somebody that has some great experience in other areas of the business office or something like that, where we could use that, then we could apply that to that requirement. That's why.
Okay,
It's not that we don't agree, it's just that given our size, it's hard for us to compete with other districts if we have the requirements too stringent.
I also support that. I think with the tough job market out there, I don't want to lose anyone that could do the job. And so I like the term preferred. I do see one mistake, in lieu of education instead of or. You have or in your?
Yes. Or in lieu or.
it,
It should-
in lieu,
of.
or it should be in lieu of.
Oh, yeah. But I do like the language as it is with that one modification.
If we get her in the office, I trust Rosa to train her up.
So you're not requiring years of experience.
Kind of
It's
an
just
entry-level
preferred.
position.
I would like a large pool of candidates to select the best from, and given the difficult market we're gonna be facing or are facing, I hope that's okay.
And we do have 3 years in budget experience preferred on that, so.
Okay.
It really is an entry-level
I
position.
can live with Tim's explanation.
You're the one.
So,
So two things, one, do we need to motion to amend the agenda for that first one? First, yeah, so can I get it,
Yeah, I think, well, it's on the,
well,
it's
it
on
already
this, it's on the
has-
agenda.
And it already has a good
Actually,
job
it's just not on the
description.
agenda.
okay.
But I think just so, when we post this agenda, it shows that, right?
That's- It's
Yeah.
just a job description.
Job
This
description, not
And then
job title.
Rosa explained more in detail on 6.5.
I think so.
So I don't think you have to make any amendments.
You don't think so? I mean, I'm just saying when we post it, we need to
Well, we
make
can
sure.
just do it
it's
to be
job
safe, I mean,
Oh,
just an
yeah,
extra motion.
that's true.
Yeah, because if we post it and it says title, then we didn't approve the agenda,
Yeah.
the
Keep
description.
it separate.
So
It just, we just.
can I get a motion to first approve, I'm sorry, not to approve, to amend the agenda item 6.4 to change it from the existing, or add job title and description? Were we gonna say this?
Yes, you want to change 6.4
Okay.
to the same
Okay.
thing that your
Okay.
6.4 page says, which
Okay.
is your job
Job
description.
description.
Yep.
I motion to approve, I motion to amend our agenda, item 6.4 to match our 6.4 item, which states, job title and job description.
And approved job description.
Approve job description for budget.
budget.
For addition. Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. And now, can I get a separate motion to approve item 6.4?
We don't need to amend it because of typo, right?
You can just a motion to approve it as amended.
Motion to approve 6.4 as amended with regard to the typo of 4 to 11.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So moving on to item 6.5.
Who can it be?
I promise I
You
think
should
that's
have
one.
No, we got another one.
Oh, you got another one.
Hello, come girl.
Okay, so this is to approve the elimination of the categorical analyst position and consider the approval of the creation of the budget technician position. So it's pretty much what we talked about.
Questions or comments from the board or the public? No? Can I get a motion to approve 6.5?
I make a motion to approve 6.5.
Can I get a second?
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item 6.6.
I was lying.
No.
This
Yeah,
board
say
meeting
never,
is
right?
all about me.
Me. Gee,
So
Marsha.
This is a resolution that you usually approve every year, and it's pretty much, I give you the authorization to our superintendent to approve all the budget transfers and all those, journal entries that we have to do at the year end. It was a lot of work. I literally have like 2 binders full of all the transactions that we did at year end. That's pretty much what it is. If you see on the forms, on form SIAA, you will see all the transfers that we did from one fund to another one. And we are required to approve this as a resolution, and I'm sure you've seen it before, because we do it every year. And that's for sure my last thing.
Questions or comments from the board or the public?
I make a motion to approve 6.6.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. So moving on to item 7.1.
This is the position of Director of Human Resources. As it was flown, the job description required an administrative credential, and when it got flown, our new interim, HR director and the county office called me and said, most HR heads are not certificated, they're classified, and by making it certificated, you're severely limiting your pool of candidates. Most HR people come out of the classified ranks, they don't come out of the administrative ranks. So what this is it's just a proposal to make revisions to the existing job title of the Director of Human Resources to include an alternative job title, which is Chief Human Resource Officer. And then with that position being changed, then we can fly this position in both the classified and the certificated side of that joint. And our pool will get much bigger than it is, because right now I think we have 4 people that apply under the certificated side, and most of them have no HR experience. They're just either people coming out of a school side or like that. So with that, we can do it. And then the next one will be it'll be another one for that, which is adjusting the salary schedule to include it on the classified salary schedule. So it's expanding the job description to allow for people coming out of the classified side with the classified certification, not an administrative credential.
Makes sense. Questions or comments from the public?
I make a motion to approve 7.1.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 7.2.
With the new chief human resource officer, we have to pay him, so we're going to add a chief human resources officer position on range 9, which would be the same range as the chief business officer, which is a classified position. And then so they would be at the same range 9. Since they're an executive cabinet member, that would be the appropriate place for them to be placed.
Questions or comments, Maria? Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve 7.2.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any seconds? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item 7.3.
This is it's a La Jolla site, man.
Aye.
They're always coming up with another problem. So somehow they've gotten so many kindergarten kids over there, they're like little, old Mother Hubbard. Or the little lady that lived in the shoe, more like it, because we started the year, we had about 29 in one class and 27 in the other two, and now they're all over 30. So we've got 3 classes over 30, and so this staffing changes to add another FTE to bring in another kindergarten teacher in La Jolla. And that'll bring the numbers down to 22.8 to 1. So it's actually going to make it where we want it to be instead of where it's at now. But I will say this, that kindergarten team are amazing because they just, right now they're going, I don't want to give up my kids. I love my kids, and but we can't do that because, as I said, we're going to do what's best for kids. And what's best for kids is that we increase our FTE by 1 at La Jolla to create a new classroom to get those numbers down where they should be.
Just a quick comment. I mean, I just want to go back to our original budget. This is why we have the reserve. So when the need occurs and we can support teachers, reduce class size, we can do that. And we can make sure we can do it into the future. So I'm glad we're doing this, but I'm glad we have the resources to do it because we prepared.
And we'll look for offsets in this current year budget and see if we can find them to where we don't have to get into the reserves because
Right now, the LCAP can sustain this position without any negative impact on any kids. So that was the budget I proposed we could use.
It says he'll cover it.
As a former kindergarten teacher, well, I retired as a third grade teacher, but we usually always, we had to get another teacher. Do you always go by the last enrolled to create that new?
No, you mean on the students, which students? We're gonna sit down and let the staff and the principal sit down and then.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that's a site decision as far as I'm concerned. I don't direct that. I just, I don't have the information I need to make that decision.
I just
trust
know
the
that it was
teachers, trust the
awfully
principal.
hard to do that because I didn't want to give up my
Well,
kids.
I know the
It's
principal's
very
already sent out
difficult.
letters. She's already made contact with parents a couple of weeks ago saying, hey, we're seeing these numbers.
Okay.
We're not making a decision yet, but it may be coming. Just so you know, we're gonna be calling you and letting you know there's gonna be a new class. So the first thing they'll do is they'll look for people that are okay with it, volunteer. And then I'm gonna trust the principal, trust the teachers to come up with a system. And then I'll work with them and I'll be in any meeting they want to so we can walk the parents through it and let them know. But they're already out in front of this.
Definitely.
Nolly's been working on this for about a month.
Yeah, and then the kids are the ones, because I know that had to happen to my daughter, and my daughter ran away from school because she knew she was gonna have to leave that classroom to
It'll be.
Well,
go to
fortunately,
another.
it's been just now a month.
It's very,
Local teachers have already given me a list of all the fun things that they know a new kinder teacher would want in their room, not just curriculum. But Jill Nakamura, working with the kinder team, formulating a supply list
Yeah.
so that the new person can come in and get right on into La Jolla culture.
yeah,
One thing I'm sure is that
I
those
had
teachers
Mrs. Stefan knocking at my door, and she's like, and she called me and she says, Veronica ran away from school, and I'm like, why? Yeah, and she goes,
Does she know how to run?
and I go, she said, because they were creating this new classroom, kindergarten classroom, and she didn't want to move out she overheard the teachers,
Oh.
and so it's just,
They'll
so
have a
you were
good-
gonna say something.
Yeah, good deal.
No.
I'm sure they're gonna have,
Please, please.
they'll come up with an innovative transition plan that'll involve people rotating around, and those teachers that team is, and they're new. I mean, and all the teachers everywhere. But those teachers are gonna wrap around that new teacher and those kids, they'll figure it out.
I still rely on the professionalism and the small learning communities to work that.
Yeah. No, I have complete faith that school sites can handle this transition.
Good. God bless you.
I'm first grade, I didn't watch. I'm just waiting for next year.
So,
Okay, so
Can I get
I
a-
make a motion to approve 7.3.
can you get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our teachers, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 8.1.
This is to allow, per ed code, what we can do with those 800 or so Chromebooks that we have to cycle out of elementary that are still absolutely usable. They just cannot be updated to what will be needed for the SBAC test. Rosa mentioned that in her budget. And so ed code allows a series of options for districts to undertake. And just so you know, our ideal plan would go in rank order of what can we do with them internally. So IT wants to look at some of them for parts that they could use. What we need for our 2 parent resource centers. So because they would be perfect for that and totally usable. So our parents could access online platforms, Rosetta Stone, any other educational things. So we'll make sure that we retain enough of those. And then seeking some partnerships with some nonprofit organizations locally. One that we're in talks with right now that would keep the devices within the local community would be Lowe's Fishes and Computers. And we worked with them actually for some digital citizenship classes with our parents in the past. And of course, they're super excited if we can divert any devices in their direction. The district is always allowed to attempt to sell them, but at this point, because we partner with this agency, if we can help funnel some devices for them, the work that they do, it has a positive impact on our community. And so this is just for you to approve, deeming them obsolete to allow any of those possibilities for what we do with them. And only if something's unusable or completely out of date would we e-waste it. That would be our last ditch effort.
Any questions or comments?
Just one comment. I love the idea that obviously we're gonna work with our parents and students and the needs that we have. However, I love the idea with working with Lowe's on Main Street, you know? However, I would love to see our 8th graders, because what they do over there is they assemble them, take them apart, and they use the parts to build other computers. I would love for maybe them to come on site or our students to go over there to actually learn the process and therefore get that creativity of working on computers, not just in the software coding end, but also on the hardware building end. So whatever bridges.
Just talked to Christian right before the board meeting, so he's gonna be part of our parent resource fair. And that was one of the things that he would love to do, or maybe come in and have such an event here for our families too. And maybe connect with some of our technology teachers.
Yeah, but definitely have our 8th graders, see if they'll let them volunteer out there or maybe do a disassembly and assembly here. Thank you very much.
I motion to approve
I
8.1.
think Mary could have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Melissa, when I was working at Monterey Peninsula College, they had like a preschool for students and employees who wanted to put their children in daycare while they took classes and stuff. I don't know if Hartnell has that, but I'm wondering if you checked into either one of those schools that you could donate some of these materials. I'm so happy that somebody gets to use these.
That's our goal, is that all the ones that are in great condition, we put those in the user's hands.
I know they were so happy to get anything, like even wrapping paper at Christmas time and, little gifts and stuff, but books and stuff, that was really great for them. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No?
I motion to approve 8.1.
Can you get a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye, Catherine.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to item 9.1.
These, both these items are second readings of proposals I made last on attendance policies. The first one is to kind of set a little bit more teeth into our excused absence policy, because the excused absence policy we have doesn't set a number of days, it just says, after a certain amount of time. So what I expect, and there's also a second part of it in there that talks about the number of days in a row somebody can be absent without a doctor's note. We have, we're dealing with truancy, that's the unexcused absences, but the other side where we have students with 30 or 40 absences that are all excused because their parents will call in and say they're sick. So what this policy does is it sets that number at 14. Once they hit 14 on the 15th excused absence, they have to provide the school site with a doctor's note excusing the illness. If not, then that illness would become an unexcused absence. What it also does is it sets a 3-day limit. So a student can be gone 2 days, but if they're gone on the third day, that third day triggers the requirement for a physician's note as well. So it's just given some specific guidelines in our policies that we can rely on. So when we start talking to parents, you have 14 days is the maximum amount you can excuse absences without going to a doctor. Now, there's always the ability to work with the parents if they have a chronic health condition. If we have a health plan in place at the school site for some kind of asthma or COPD or some kind of allergies or anything like that, that's built in as well. This is just simply for those chronic excused absence students that the parents just call up and says they just woke up and said they don't feel like coming to school, that kind of stuff. So it's just a firming up of that policy, so the sites will have that ability to have those conversations with those students in the classroom.
Questions or comments?
When I read this originally, my concern was what about parents who might not necessarily be able to find the situation to take the child to a doctor? However, with the introduction or the development of a family resource center, we'll be able to direct them to illness or clinics. So in terms of the overall well-being of the student, if they really are sick, I want them to see a doctor. You know what I'm saying? I don't want them to stay at home. So I think this is a good balance, given the truth. So I would move forward.
So Tim, 4.4, it has notes. So B of 4.4, we're removing all that. And we're gonna add when the student has 14 absences, that's what you highlighted.
Right, see, because what it says now, it says if the student shows a pattern of absenteeism due to illness, district staff may require physician verification. That's the current policy. What I'm saying is, we're going to replace that with the highlighted section here in the front, which says when a student has had 14 absences in the school year for illnesses verified by methods in 1 through 3 and above, any further absences for illness must be verified.
Okay, good.
And then the other thing that it's adding, if you look at.
Section regarding the 3 consecutive days.
Yes, because there's nothing in there for that, although that's pretty standard, 3 days and after
Yeah.
3rd day. So
Okay.
those are the 2 adjustments to that policy.
Alrighty,
Good question.
it clarified it for me. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? I get a motion to approve 9.1.
I move to approve 9.1.
You get a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to 9.2.
This is a safeguard. We didn't put it in when we did our global adoption because we didn't know what we were going to do with our attendance. When we did that back in January, we didn't realize our focus was going to be so heavily into attendance. This is just simply a policy that allows this district to form its own SARB board, or SARB, which is a Student Attendance Review Board. We're currently in a MOU with the district attorney's truancy abatement program, which precludes us from forming one if we're going to use them. But this gives us flexibility if that program doesn't provide what we need and it's not fruitful, then we can bring it back and create a district remedy of our own. So it's just given us the ability and the flexibility to make adjustments as we move forward. we're excited about the truancy abatement program. I think with the new attendance program that we've just started, it just went online last week. We've already got letters going out to parents automatically as soon as the principals check the box, they get the letters. So we're on our way, but we just want to have flexibility. This might be something we don't need for 2 or 3 years, or we may need it next year, but we have it. And we just don't have one until we get this one adopted, so.
Tim, I appreciate the flexibility, district attorneys can change,
Yeah.
priorities can change.
Yeah, with budget cuts, they could lose that truancy program anytime, and then we would be without it, so.
Any other questions or comments? We get a motion to approve 9.2.
Motion to approve 9.2.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Kevin.
Okay, motion passes. Last item, 10.1.
Victor.
You're up.
Well, in maintenance facilities, we have the same. You build from the ground up, but then you maintain and clean it from the top to the bottom. So as you can see, during this summer of 2019, we had found and identified some facility needs. And since we were talking about, Fund 14 and the allocation of $2.4 million initially, I was really proposing to, reprioritize the list that was given to you prior so that we could identify or try to treat some of the areas that are in high need. For instance, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is an immediate need. Level 2 would be, we need to kind of plan, and then level 3 would be the wish list. So in this case, if you really look at the spreadsheet, if you focus at the very bottom, I've kind of given a synopsis of what the available funding was. And this is about 2 months ago, Rosa and I sat down. We didn't really know what the true numbers were, but safely we could say, let's go ahead and start planning for $1.2 million, which tonight she has, shared with you that the available funding is 1.635. So with that, I extended the calculation from 2019 to 2023, and that's a 4-year period. And then right below, it's 2019 to 2024, which really kind of blows us out of the water. So if you look at the spreadsheet up above, the first year, these are the highest needs of what we need to address in order to kind of safeguard our investments on the interior of the buildings and the buildings that are standing at this time. So La Jolla, we're looking at, duct cleaning. We have started duct cleaning district-wide. This is kind of our last phase. We still need to do 3 more schools. We've already done 3 schools plus the district office. We need to, in year 21, 22, we want to probably do some patching and sealing of roofs. And year 2020, 23 to 24, we're definitely going to have to do something about the asphalt. We've been written up by the Williams several times now. We've been patching it, and eventually it's it's just outlasted its lifespan. So with that, New Republic, of course, we have a list of one of the top priorities is the fire alarm. New Republic has a fire alarm that is no longer available. It's outdated. It's they want us to go ahead and replace it. So eventually we do have to replace it. And we're allocating roughly, and these are just target monies right now. This is what it could cost right now. It doesn't mean that it's the factual or the open date bid time money figure. So I think we're conservative with these numbers, and more than likely we will not be waiting it down.
Answer a question on that. That is one of our newest schools. And the idea that the fire equipment, the alarm system, the manufacturer is not there anymore for us to fix it, and so therefore, and this being one of our newest schools, I explain that a little bit.
The system that was installed into New Republic was a system that was created in the 70s. And since it was fireproofing, fireproof, like it was, you know, bulletproof. They kept it up and then it was outdated in 2003. And so now that we need to service it out, we're having to rely on eBay for old parts in order to put into that facility because they're not manufactured. The company is so proprietary, and so we can only go through them. We can't go, you know, over the counter and invite a different contractor to come in. It's been an expensive system. And so right now they give us a quote to put in a used card into the panel for $5,000. And we said, you know, $450,000 to $5,000, it makes sense, go ahead. No guarantees. You know when it's going to go down. And so I discussed this whole problem with even the fire marshal, because the fire marshal has given us our, I would say, like a dummy letter that they give you, and they say, look, you need to do something about this really quick. So I sat down with Sabrina Webb, which is our fire marshal, and I said, look, this is the predicament that I'm in, but I am consulted an architect, an engineer. I'm going through the Siemens, which is the manufacturer of this product, and this is what they've given me. And more than likely, there's no guarantee that even though we put in this card, it's going to fail. So she said, you know, I'll work with you. I'll go ahead and put it down. So now every time it sets the fire alarm system down, they check with me before they send it. So
That's a temporary solution, right, until we actually.
that's a temporary solution.
And that card, we don't want to test out for sure because there's no guarantee.
The manufacturer is saying, we're gonna put it in, it's gonna cost you $5,000, even though you can go to eBay and see the card, that one SD card, for, you know, like $359. But, you know, they're the only ones who can work on it. It's a proprietary system where we can't touch it, we need to hire them. So that's what we're at.
So it's outdated and.
This may be something we're gonna have to bring back, and we're gonna have, go back to the old days when I first got here, when you guys were approving expenditures. And I said, if they're already in the budget, you don't need to approve them a second time. This may be something where we make a decision where we're gonna go outside of that budget and use the reserves. But we're talking about a fire system, right?
Yeah, no, I understand
So
that.
it's a priority, it's a 1+A++. So we're gonna get on this, and hopefully before the next board meeting, we'll have some information. We're gonna get we need to get some firm numbers on this and get moving on it. It may be one of those things we just have to go ahead.
It's a major safety issue.
We can't kick this can down the road.
So the selection of the fire alarm system at the time when it was built is kind of awkward because 3 of our sites have an over-the-counter system, which is a Firelight system. 3 of our sites had the Siemens system, which is a proprietary system. So at the time of manufacturing or creating the plans and specifications, they put that in there. So they were
So whoever the contractor, what are the 3 schools?
New Republic, McKinnon, and
All the newest.
it might be Folsom.
So are we, now, this is unique to that one site, or are we going to experience this at these other sites as time goes on?
We are going to experience.
Yeah, because if it's already, these are our new schools. It's McKinnon and New Republic, and who's the other one? Oh, wow, those are newer. Yeah, so then our old one, or the older schools will eventually.
I would like to see updated numbers, maybe.
Yep.
And
We'll get them for you for the next board meeting.
But thank you for, this is, like you said, Howard.
And this is, this is major priority.
Again, okay, so going down the line, I mean, Gavilan View, we need to immediately replace HVACs from 9 to 14, classrooms 9 to 14. The roof, now, this is kind of like the beginning of what I really want to explain from year 2019-20 to year 23-24. The library technology roof is outdated, it's outlived, it's, you know, and life expectancy is gone and overhead money. I really wanted to put these numbers together here because eventually we have to like go and really replace the entire roofing. The first numbers for this year are 84,000, and that's kind of a temporary fix that will give us 4 to 5 years more, instead of, you know, going ahead and spending $387,000 all at once. So this kind of gives us a little bit more time to be able to prioritize and redirect the money to stuff like that. So this is just buying us some time, and I think it's probably a better way of doing it. That way we can actually kind of plan for the future and see what, you know, what we need to do in year 5. Hopefully, if we maintain them correctly now, it could be year 6, it could be year 7. So the roof, it needs replacement. Classroom 7 through 8, I think we're pretty good until year 5. Duckling, in the end, we only have the administration building there. So Little Bear Creek, we do have a little issue with the sanitary sewer, and this is where I planned for this year $45,000 in order to do the research and the engineering and the plans and specifications in order to go ahead and do something in the following year during the summer, because we can't really take that system down because it could involve the whole entire site of Gatlin. On top of Little Bear Creek. So there's going to be some discussions again with the leadership there, because Little Bear Creek goes year round. So how do we do that? And so that's where we're at. Santa Rita roof repair, a couple years from now, I think we're going to have to spend some money and just kind of patch it up, but eventually it's going to cost us about $588,000. Carpet replacement, we definitely need to do some carpet replacement slowly because we have some torn carpets, tripping hazards and stuff like that. So we got somebody there for that. McKinnon, I know that this is something that kind of came up in my report with you guys. We have been having some good discussions slowly because of the amount of buses that are showing up at McKinnon in the PM. So not only do we have Salinas Gonzalez, Salinas City, we have the MCOE, and now we have 5 buses going to McKinnon. So the staging areas are really difficult to kind of stage safely for the kids to be able to get on the bus safely and get out of the parking lot at McKinnon. So we need to increase the amount of staging area, and luckily, the design that was done there kind of lends itself for not too much of a big cost. Again, we also have been coordinating with MCOE, and I had a pretty good meeting with Josh Jordan, where they're gonna kind of take care of 2 items. One, they're gonna kind of safe off the building and incorporate it into our perimeter safety fence by extending the fences and kind of enveloping that building into it, because right now the MCOE building is actually outside of our perimeter fence, and so in case of a lockdown, you know, code red, you know, lock in place or whatever, they're outside. They're not on the inside of those fences, so they're gonna ante up the abilities to go ahead and put perimeter fencing, incorporating ours into theirs, and kind of making a full safety zone for the entire site. Admin building roof, of course, in year 5, I think we're going to definitely have the project board. It is showing its age. The gym floor, the gym roof is definitely in need of some immediate assistance. So if we were to spend some money again, you know, year 5, year 6, year 7, I think we could, you know, probe on that. Bolsonaro seal and stripe blacktop, you know, it's something that kind of really needs. It is a solid foundation out there, and if we were just to seal it, again, it'll give us another 10 years. So I think it's a great investment. Restore metal coping on the flat roofs, that's kind of rusted solely because we live pretty close to the coastal area, And so if we don't see what got COVID, then the rest of the members actually have the case. And then, of course, the district office, we do have a flat roof or a pitch pocket, what we call pitch pocket. And that's definitely gonna start being pretty soon. And of course, we have
It's
a
not gonna
dead.
start, we've
Spray that
we've
in.
had buckets out of the roof catching the water. We had a roof, we had a tile, we leak, and you go, "What?" And we pull it up, and there's a bucket up there that's full of water that's running over the top of it, so, yeah, it's not gonna start leaking, it's leaking.
That was a temporary fix, though.
The bucket, very temporary.
Very affordable.
That's not
It was
even
the
a patch
little
job.
So we're looking at spending, and then the HVAC roof, the unit needs to be replaced because it's,
I mean, the one that's shooting exhaust into the intake and the one across the way.
that's the rock.
Yeah, let's get rid of that.
That's,
We all walk around here with headaches.
So that's kind of like the synopsis of the next 5 years. Eventually, you know, we're gonna have to probably look a little bit more into this splash 14 in order to tackle this area. Any questions?
Just have a couple of comments. I really like how you realign the expenditures to different years. I like the idea that we are taking care of the emergency items now, but those things where we can expend a certain amount and extend the life for 7, 8 years, I think for our long term, that'll help us write off a possible recession, and back when it comes back up, then we can focus on those. So I'm really appreciating you protecting our budget now and extending the need until possibly 6, 7, 8 years. Because, you know, I'm worried about the next 4 years, 5 years. You know, and I want to make sure that our reserves are available to take care of salaries and wages and other things. And these large capital expenditures the economy does come back in the future, as it always does, that maybe we can afford at that time, you know, but we need to protect what we have. So thank you. I do like the reallocation.
Any comments?
No, just very good. I like the way it's lined up.
Yeah, no, thank you, especially because you've only been here a very short time and you kind of hit the ground running, so, yeah.
You didn't have a choice.
Swim, baby.
The ground was moving, so.
Yeah, but you know, you've been very thorough in what you've done. You've walked through every campus, every place that we can. And you've come up with every possible thing we need to do, whether it's now or in the future. But I really do appreciate that. I don't know that we've ever gotten anything like this from the MOT director before. This easy to read.
Yeah, yeah, we did, but it was aligned differently.
It was
But you've got, no, but you've got all your priorities, you know. So it's good. Thank you.
Any future agenda items for the board?
We need to.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to,
Is it an information?
Yeah,
Review.
Review.
Okay, just review, okay.
Yeah, it was just a,
it was a review.
no, information on this one.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, because it says down here, I know.
That's right.
Yeah, no, we just, they got.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
You got excited?
Oh, yeah.
Any future items?
No, but I think we should put the 3 that Neil had mentioned to us earlier in the session.
Go ahead.
You want to bring it?
So the first one was media. I would like to create an ad campaign that details to our public what we have to offer. And so we can get more community involvement. The second was a changing room for students in middle school to facilitate proper hygiene for physical fitness classes. And the last one was lockers. Exploring lockers in middle schools as a transition to high schools where they will be using lockers anyway. So I would like for them to start building that ability of learning how to use that. And a lot of parents are complaining about lifting a lot of weights and moving back and forth. So
As far as the books and stuff, right? Okay. So the next So we want to motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yeah, taking a motion to adjourn at 8 p.m.
I make a motion to adjourn at 8, what?
I do want to compliment, I think your recommendation quite well. Thank you. I appreciate your thoroughness.
Yeah,
and
you did a great
openness.
job. That should be
Great job.
first time
Thank you.
I've ever-
Take a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
We're so happy you all joined us. Thank you.
That's really a,